Welcome back, everyone. It's Eric from Rare Candy, and today we are back with part 5 of our 2020-2021 post-rotation guide that we have been uploading on the channel. So if you guys have missed the other parts, I will have a link down below in the description to the entire playlist of all of the parts that have been uploaded, and of course any ones that get uploaded after this. But today we are, continuing this guide, looking at some of the important cards that are going to be remaining after the rotation. And today we're going to be honing in, talking about energy acceleration and just energy consistency cards in general, ways to search energy, accelerate energy, basically everything kind of related to energy as you might expect. And as you guys can see, we have a ton of cards that we are actually going to be going over. Some of these are definitely going to be better than others, but I still want to make sure you guys sort of have knowledge about all of the options that exist in the format. And as you guys know, every time a new set comes out, that changes the viability of cards. And some of these, who knows, they might be able to see an uptick in play as we get more and more cards. But let's hop into it and see what we're going to have for energy acceleration. So up first we have Porygon Z. So Porygon Z, this card's been I feel like just shy of being pretty playable, but I think the ability Crazy Code is pretty solid. As often as you like during your turn, you may attach a special energy card from hand to one of your Pokemon. The attack not too special, of course, but Crazy Code is really cool. We've seen a bunch of these like Rain Dance style abilities in the past, and historically they've actually all been pretty decent. So the fact that we have a similar ability for special energy specifically is really cool, because there are a lot of decent special energy in the format right now. Now, of course, Porygon Z is a stage 2, which is one of the big downsides, and there's a whole lot of energy acceleration already. So a lot of types already can sort of get powered up without having to rely on, Aurora energies and things like that to kind of cheat energies into play. So, Porygon Z, it's like I said, it's just kind of been shy of being a really good card, but definitely I think still an important one to keep in mind, just because there is a lot of special energy still remaining in the format going forward. We have Sharpedo. Sharpedo actually has seen some degree of play, like when Dark Box first was sort of coming onto the scene, but it has the Greedy Evolution ability. Whenever you play this from hand to evolve one of your Pokemon, you may look at the top 6 cards of your deck and attach any number of Dark Energy cards you find there to this Pokemon. So this was one of the early sort of partners people were looking at with Weavile GX, because you can get a bunch of energy on Sharpedo, then with Weavile, of course, move that to any Pokemon you like. So Sharpedo hasn't seen too much play since sort of the early Unified Minds format, but nevertheless, I mean, it is a way to get energies into play. And there's a lot of new Dark Pokemon coming out in the next set as well, so it's worth keeping in mind our Dark Energy acceleration. Speaking of which, we have Weavile GX, a little bit more important, has the Shadow Connection ability. You may move a basic Dark Energy from one of your Pokemon to another. So, we've seen these style of abilities throughout the years as well. There's even been an old Hydreigon that had a very similar ability. We've seen this on other things like Kling Klang in the past as well, Aromatisse. So, the Dark Box deck or archetype as a whole, it's just kind of been, closer to like a tier 2 deck. But Weavile, of course, is sort of what makes that entire archetype sort of work. Like I said with Sharpedo, we have a bunch of new Dark Pokemon coming out in the next set. So being able to manipulate Dark Energy in some way is something that we have to keep in mind going forward. So who knows, Weavile might be able to make more of a comeback going forward. And also too, Power Plant, I think, will gradually start to decline in play, especially now that we're getting Crobat V in Darkness Ablaze, with Power Plant and Mimikyu sort of being phased out of frequency of play. This ability is going to work more often than not. That was something Weavile did run into for a bit, especially when it first came out. A lot of decks were playing Power Plant at the time, and maybe going forward Weavile will have a better shot at being playable. So in Zamora GX, kind of in the same vein as Sharpedo, it's only accelerates energy to itself, but it's a pretty cool ability. You can put 3 damage counters on it, search your deck for 3 Dark Energy cards, and attach them to this Pokemon. Then shuffle your deck. So, of course, you can get these energies into play, and then with Weavile, you can potentially move them around or something like that. I don't think this is probably the most efficient way at getting your Dark Energies into play, but nevertheless, it is an option that we do still have in the format. So, of course, we have ADP. ADP has definitely been a very, very dominant card ever since it released back in Cosmic Eclipse. Of course, for that Altered Creation GX attack, but also Ultimate Ray, we've seen this power up a number of different attackers. We've seen it power up things like Keldeo GX, closer to back when this was first released. Other things like the Articuno, Zapdos Moltres, more recently Zacian V. So Ultimate Ray has proven to be a solid source of energy acceleration, and Altered Creation is an attack that isn't going to get worse as time goes on. So I think Ultimate Ray will have to be a consideration in the game. But luckily we do have a lot of other sorts of ways to accelerate energy right now. So we'll have to see if decks are going to need Ultimate Ray for its energy acceleration. So next we have Dragonite. Dragonite is another card we've had for a little bit of time. Hasn't really seen too much play, but it has this Hurricane Charge ability. Once during your turn, you may attach a Water Energy and Lightning Energy card. A Water Energy, a Lightning Energy, or one of each from your hand to your Pokemon in any way that you like. So this Dragonite actually did see a little bit of play at the time of Worlds last year. Some players we were attempting to play the Psyduck Slowpoke GX deck. A couple of them were running the Dragonite as a source of cheating that extra water energy you need into play to attack with the tag team. Hasn't really done much since, and that deck really didn't do too much at Worlds either. And I think like this card initially looks like really cool because it's kind of like the old Vikavolt back from the Sun and Moon era, but Vikavolt accelerated the energy from deck. This is from hand. It's a good bit worse, and we are losing Lance in the rotation, so Dragonite's gonna be a little bit harder to get out compared to the previous year or so when this has been legal. But nevertheless, guys, it's something to keep in mind. We do need to kind of keep all of our options on the table. Accelerating Lightning Energy in particular could be of noteworthiness, since we are losing Thunder Mountain anyway. To cheat extra Lightning Energies in play is something that's going to be wanted. Up next from there we have Azrael. So Azrael has an ability. So of course you flip coin, no matter what, your turn's gonna end, but if you do flip heads, you attach a basic energy from discard to your active Pokemon. So none of the baby Pokemon have really done too much. I guess like Tyrogue, I guess Munchlax too, have both seen some play. Azrael hasn't really done too much though ever since it's been printed, but it's a way we can potentially cheat an extra energy to play on turn one, especially if we are a deck that takes multiple energy to attack and we can't attack turn one anyways. Could be a good ability to sort of fall back on. So Gardevoir Sylveon GX is going to be up next with that Fairy Song attack. You get search your deck for up to 2 fairy energies and attach them to your bench Pokemon any way that you like, then shuffle your deck. Now unfortunately for Guardian, has that pesky Metal Weakness. But also too, there's no more fairy Pokemon, so what we have right now is basically it. So I don't really see too much reason to play this, especially when you compare this to something like Bolton V. Bolton does effectively the same thing for Lightning Energy and only gives up 2 prizes, doesn't have the same like horrible weakness. So I think Bolton's probably just better, and did I forget Bolton on this list now that I'm thinking about it? No, we do have it on here. For some reason, I didn't remember putting it on here, but nevertheless, yeah, this is basically kind of the same thing as Bolton, and with Fairy Pokemon not getting any new cards anymore, Guardian's probably going to be on the lower end of our considerations going forward. So, it still does exist though. It didn't quite get rotated, so we do still have it as an option. So getting into the fighting stuff, we have a bunch of stuff here. We have a Groudon. A lot of people might not even know exists, but has that Drought attack. You attach up to 2 fighting energies from your hand to one of your Pokemon. I've actually attempted to experiment with this card ever since it came out. I always thought this seemed like it had potential in like a green style deck or something like that. Of course, fighting has just been kind of an awkward type to get going in Groudon. Quite hasn't been what it's needed to get up and running. So Groudon, it might not be our top option, but I do think this attack is still like kind of decent though. So I like Drought, it's okay. We have Meloetta, another card that is probably one you'll have to actually read. Not a popular card by any means, but you attach an energy from hand to one of your tag team Pokemon. Now I will say this, I'm really not a huge fan of this card though, just because you're only attaching 1 energy. Because the reason I don't like that is because you could just attach, like, you have to attach energy from hand to power up your Meloetta anyways. So why not just attach that to a tag team instead of using this? The only way this attack is good is if this doesn't get knocked out and you can attach an additional energy on a future turn. But other than that, I think this card is pretty bad. But again, guys, I want to kind of throw out all the options that we have right now, for better or for worse. So next we have Zygarde, which is actually probably one of my more favorite of the fighting energy acceleration options that we're going to have on this list. But it has this cool attack, Boost Fang 20. You attach a fighting energy from discard to one of your bench Pokemon. But it has this cool ability too. It does more damage for every Zygarde you have in play. So this is kind of nice. It's kind of like the Groudon. I mean, it only accelerates one energy, but you're getting some chip damage in the process, which is kind of cool. So I've experimented with this card to, you know, mediocre success, just because of the state of fighting Pokemon, really. But I do think this is an okay sort of pivot Pokemon, like early, like nice early game attacker you can sort of lead with potentially. So I think Boost Fang is an okay enough attack to at least keep in the back of your mind. So next up we have Colossal. This is probably one of the more reliable forms of fighting energy acceleration that we finally got with the new Sword and Shield era of the game. So once during your turn, you may attach a fire energy, a fighting energy, or one of each from your discard pile to your Pokemon any way that you like. So this is kind of similar to the Dragonite we looked at as well, but accelerating from discard, much better than accelerating from hand. It's going to be, I think, generally a little bit more reliable. And even though it does accelerate fire energy, that is kind of a good thing in a way, because it allows you to potentially play some fire Pokemon in your deck, like Ninetales V. That's kind of been the go-to one for decks that have been experimenting with Colossal up until this point. But you know, Colossal, it's debatably the best option we have for energy acceleration for fighting. This and maybe Karate Belt, probably the most reliable options. So I think this is probably the main one fighting Pokemon will want to keep in mind. That being said, we do have Stonjourner VMAX. I view this as more of a form of energy acceleration for itself, rather than like general fighting energy acceleration. But you attach fighting energy from hand to one of your Pokemon if you do heal 120 from that Pokemon. So this is mainly going to be for Stonjourner VMAX, of course. But nevertheless, I think Stone Gift is a solid attack. The heal 120, especially on a VMAX like this, nothing to scoff at. We have Victini. This is a card that actually has seen some degree of play with the Articuno Zapdos Moltres. And even Keldeo GX, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. So you search your deck for 2 basic energy cards of different types and attach them to your Pokemon any way that you like. So I'm not sure how much this is going to be needed in the short term, but maybe once we get the amazing rares with all of their weird attack costs, this could be an option we look at to maybe power those up. In the meantime, I'm really not sold on much else to really pair with Victini for the moment. I think most other types sort of have the acceleration that they need, but nevertheless, again, something to keep in mind. We have Victini B. So we've seen this be used for a number of different reasons. The Spreading Flames attack is pretty good. Attach up 3 fire energies from discard to your Pokemon any way that you like. Sometimes this can be a nice like mid-game sort of attack to sort of recharge your field. Or if you're going first, or well, if you're going second on your first turn, this can be a great attack to even lead the game with when you're not using Energy Burst. So definitely a solid attack for fire decks. Likewise, we have the Volcanion with the Flare Starter attack, very similar to the Victini V. In this way, you search your deck for a fire energy and attach it to one of your Pokemon. But if you are going second and it's your first turn, you can get 3 energies instead. So Volcanion sort of proven itself at this point to be a pretty reliable form of energy acceleration. We've seen this pop up in Green's variant and also the more ability-based variants for fire decks as well. And I don't really expect that to change. We're getting a couple of new pretty powerful fire Pokemon VMAX in the new set, so Volcanion is definitely going to be a partner that those decks will be looking to eye up as well. So definitely I think one of the better options we've been looking at so far. We have Arcanine. This is a card that actually saw a lot of play when it first came out during the Unbroken Bonds format for this Grand Flame attack. The card has definitely dipped in play ever since, but it's still a solid 1-prizer, I think. Hitting for 120 and getting 2 energy on a bench Pokemon is something to scoff at on a 140 HP 1-prizer. So Arcanine, I still think to be a decent card. I mean, most decks haven't really been playing it ever since the Unbroken Bonds format, but nevertheless, it's still an okay card. Up next, we have Flareon GX. Pretty sure we are keeping the Evolution GXs. And this one has the Heat Stage attack. You may attach it with 3 fire energies from hand to your Pokemon any way that you like. So a lot of similar things going on here between this, the Volcanion, and the Victini B. Flareon has sort of seen a dip in play ever since we lost the Energy Evolution Eevee. It's kind of made it a little bit harder to get these sort of evolutions in play compared to when we had that Eevee. So Flareon GX probably is not going to be one of the more popular ones that you're going to see being used for fire acceleration, but nevertheless, I think Flareon is still an okay card. The 30 attached 3 is good. Bright Flame is okay. It's a nice sort of 2-shotting attack, and then Power Burner is also a solid attack as well, especially since fire decks do have typically a lot of fire energies that they're running. So next up we have another sort of lost forgotten card that is going to be Emboar. So it has this ability, whenever you play and evolve into it, you look at the top 8 cards of your deck and attach any number of basic energy cards you find there to your Pokemon any way that you like. So this ability is definitely not my favorite just because it's only a coming into play ability. Like most of these stage 2 abilities are once a turn, so just being a coming into play ability, a little bit worse than I would like, and also it's kind of luck based as well. So you have to find space for your attackers, stage 2 line, and a ton of energy to get this thing working. So I'm not crazy about this, but it is nice. You can use this for any sort of type, doesn't have to just be fire energy. So something to keep in mind. Up next, we do have the Butterfree evolution line. As you can see, we have a ton of good pre-evolutions that can help get your Butterfree out on turn 1 as soon as possible. So Butterfree, this could actually be a somewhat decent form of energy acceleration if you are going second on your first turn, especially for types that don't traditionally have really good acceleration options. Triple Charge for a colorless energy will allow you to get 3 basic energy cards, attach them to your Pokemon any way that you like. So think of something like Fighting, which historically isn't the best type for energy acceleration. Butterfree could potentially sort of fill that role here. And thanks to the Caterpies and Metapods we have access to, maybe you can even get this out on turn 1 and get it going. So Butterfree, kind of a sleeper option, could be good for the first turn. Up next, we do have Rillaboom, definitely one of the better grass energy accelerators right now. So just once during your turn, search your deck for 2 grass energies. You guys are probably familiar with this guy. At this point, there's no shortage of good grass attackers to pair this with. We got the Rillaboom V Max, we got the Route Alolan Executor. I believe Shaman Prism Star is still lurking around in the format as well, if I remember correctly. So, Rillaboom, pretty straightforward card. It's kind of proven itself at this point to be a decent form of energy acceleration. Next we have Serena. I do want to throw this one out there. I think Rillaboom there's no reason to play Serena as long as Rillaboom exists, but like I said, I want to at least throw all the options we have out there. Unlike Rillaboom, it's only 1 grass energy and it's from discard pile. So definitely a little bit hard to get up and running than the Rillaboom. Getting 2 is definitely pretty substantial. It's literally like twice as good as Serena, so probably not going to see much play. So up next we do a Bolton V, sort of a newcomer that we just got in Rebel Clash. You search your deck for 2 lightning energies, attach them to your bench Pokemon any way that you like. So of course Thunder Mountain is going to be leaving us in the rotation, and any way that we can get extra energies in play for lightning type is going to be definitely welcome. We do still have Cocoa Prism Star as well, which we'll be getting into. But definitely a great sort of early game attacker for this Electrify attack. Next up, we do still have Pikarom. I do want to throw out there, I think Pikarom gets a good bit worse after rotation. We're losing Electro Power, we're losing Thunder Mountain. I think just between those alone, not even counting Zeraora, Pikarom I feel like there's not a ton of reason to play it. Granted, I haven't began testing for post-rotation just yet at the time of recording, but I imagine Pikarom is going to definitely see a good dip in play. But nevertheless, it still has Full Blitz. Full Blitz is still a solid attack. Even Tag Bolt is still a solid attack in and of itself. But Full Blitz get 3 lightning energies and do 150. It's still a strong card, just probably not quite as strong as it once was. Of course, Cocoa Prism, this is going to be the big one that we are keeping. Has that Dance of the Ancients ability. We can choose 2 of our bench Pokemon, attach a lightning energy from discard to each of them, then put Cocoa into the Lost Zone. So this is definitely going to be a staple of any lightning deck going forward. Nothing's really going to change about that after rotation. Next up, Sjoberg. This one is a little bit more highly specific. It is only for Vikavolt or a Vikavolt GX, which is no longer in standard, but you can attach it from hand to Vikavolt, and it provides 2 lightning energy, and it doesn't count as your attachment for turn. So theoretically, you can throw down 4 of these Sjobergs and get 8 lightning energies into play. So even though if you're not attacking with Vikavolt, that could be relevant if you're playing Boltund or something in your deck, hypothetically. So mainly going to be for Vikavolt decks, but nevertheless, guys, I do want to highlight it. So next up we have Electro. While this isn't energy acceleration, this is energy manipulation. I think is somewhat decent. So whenever you evolve into it, you get to move any number of lightning energy from your Pokemon to your other Pokemon any way that you like. So this can be nice at powering up a fresh attacker sort of out of nowhere. This could even help you maybe set up some of your GX attacks like Tag Bolt as an example. So, I mean, we've seen these abilities see good success in the past, you know, most notably probably the Shaman from, was it Unleashed? I want to say Undaunted or Unleashed, but I think it was Unleashed. But with the Celebration of Wind ability, whenever you bench it, you can move all of your energy around. Granted, this is a stage 1 and it's only lightning energy, but I still think these types of abilities are still decent. So Electro, definitely not, while it's not at the top of the list of considerations, it's definitely not like one of the bottom tier ones either. It's probably somewhere in the middle. Probably like just bad enough to where it probably won't see play, but it's good enough to maybe still win you a couple games though. So next we have Raichu. This is definitely going to be one of the ones that I don't think we'll see play, but you can only use this attack if you have at least 3 more prize cards remaining than your opponent. Attach all lightning energy cards from your discard pile to your Pokemon any way that you like. So while this is actually a really strong effect, having to be at least 3 prizes down, nah, not going to happen. And then your opponent's just going to knock out your Raichu, and they're going to be 4 prizes ahead after that. So again, the effect is good, just nah, not quite good enough as an attack though. So next we have Duraludon. Has the Metal Sharpener attack, very similar to the old Registeel back from Crimson Invasion. You attach a metal energy from discard to one of your Pokemon, and you get some 30 chip damage in the process. So we've seen cards like this see play. Of course, more notably the Yveltal back from XY saw immense amounts of play throughout its lifespan. So this could be a decent attack if the 30 becomes relevant for math. Like right now, I think Zacian and Metal Saucer is enough to sort of get your Metal decks up and running. Like, you're really not playing this specifically for the energy acceleration. You're playing it more so if the energy acceleration also fixes your math. That's sort of what I'm seeing for this card. So yeah, since we've seen things like Registeel and Yveltal be good in the past, Duraludon does have a shot, just because of the precedent that's already been set. So next up we have Rotom. This was a card I remember in my Legendary Heartbeat first impressions. I was blanking on this card. I was trying to remember it, but yeah, gonna point this guy out just because Psychic lost Malamar, and Psychic definitely needs anything it can get to accelerate energy at this point. But Rotom has this attack here. You attach 2 basic energy cards from your discard to your bench Pokemon any way that you like. So while it does say energy and not psychic energy, you do need psychic energy to be able to use this attack. So more than likely, this would be for a psychic deck. Now, is this good enough to sort of carry you throughout the game? I'm not entirely convinced of that. But psychic as a type, like I said, guys, it did just lose its main form of energy acceleration. So we'll have to see what is sort of going to become the primary ways psychic decks are going to try to get set up. So Rotom is a consideration. The other attack roll isn't awful either, but yeah, definitely want to keep in mind. So next up we have Alchemy. This is another pretty recent card. You attach any number of basic energy cards from your hand to your Pokemon any way that you like. So it's actually a pretty good effect, but the issue is this is a stage 1, so you can't use this until turn 2, and you need to have the energies in hand. But the fact that it can be any number is actually pretty good. So I think being a stage 1 probably is going to be the thing that really keeps this from seeing play, but the effect is decent enough to where I felt like bringing it up. Next up we have Lunala. This is going to be a more specific form of energy acceleration, but if you have a Solgaleo in play, you may search your deck for up to 2 energy cards and attach them to your Solgaleo or Lunala in any way that you like. So it's kind of cool, I suppose, but you have to be playing a deck that is based around Solgaleo and Lunala, otherwise it's not really too great. So next up, this isn't really energy acceleration, but it's like a way at, I don't know, making the most of your energies that you have in play. So Cold Cyclone 70, you move 2 water energies from this Pokemon to one of your bench Pokemon. And then of course its ability prevents things like bosses' orders from bringing up Pokemon that are on your bench. So we've seen Articuno see like some degree of play since it's come out. And just being able to get in some damage, move that energy out of play, keep it safe on the bench is kind of okay. Next up, we have Blastoise Piplup GX, a card that really hasn't quite taken off, unfortunately, up until this point. But Splash Maker is actually, I think, a solid attack that we have here. You may attach up to 3 water energies from hand to your Pokemon any way that you like. If you do, heal 50 from this Pokemon for each card you attached in this way. So I think Splash Maker is actually kind of a decent attack, guys. Really, like I said, really hasn't quite taken off up until this point. But 150, which is going to be a 2-shot most of the time, and you get some energy acceleration and heal, really not too bad. Like I said, just the card has been just narrowly not good enough to sort of see breakout success. Next up we have Kyogre. You attach 2 water energies from discard to one of your Pokemon. Feels sort of the same role as Groudon potentially. I think you'd be playing this maybe in a deck that doesn't need something like Frostmoth. Like might be some sort of water deck that needs maybe just 1 or 2 extra attachments and doesn't need like an entire stage 1 engine just to cheat a couple of like 1 or 2 energies throughout the course of a game. Kyogre could be a decent setup Pokemon for a deck like that. Of course though, Frostmoth definitely still the best form of water energy acceleration we have right now. Of course it has the Ice Dance ability. We can accelerate any amount of water energies to any of our benched water Pokemon. So while the Frostmoth sort of archetypes haven't like completely taken off up until this point, I think Ice Dance is still a great ability. I'd be surprised if we didn't see a competitive Frostmoth deck at some point. Just again, these abilities historically have been fantastic, and being on a stage 1 is also very, very good. So one day Frostmoth I think will probably be a great deck, but for the moment it's still probably hovering around the tier 2 category. So next up we have Starmie GX, another card you might have to actually read for the first time, that has the Starstream attack. This 40, and you attach 2 water energies from discard to one of your Pokemon. So again, not the strongest energy acceleration, guys, but it is something we do need to point out. We do have another Starmie card, which actually has seen like very fringe play. Has the Strange Wave attack for a colorless energy, which is pretty nice. You do 40, but then you search your deck for up to 3 water or psychic energy cards and attach them to one of your bench Pokemon. So I think this is actually kind of a decent attack. And again, guys, we are losing our psychic energy acceleration, so we kind of got to take what we can get at this point. Even though Starmie isn't really our ideal partner, it's not nothing. So that's why we are covering it. So next up we do have Blastoise. I think now that we have Frostmoth, this Blastoise doesn't really have a reason to exist. But nevertheless, it's still energy acceleration, so we should point it out. We get to look at the top 6 cards of our deck, attach a number of water energy cards we find there to our Pokemon any way that you like, shuffle the other cards back into your deck. So one thing that is nice about Blastoise compared to Frostmoth, despite being a stage 2, and despite only having a coming into play ability, you can attach the energy to any of your Pokemon, not just benched water Pokemon. So you do have a bit more flexibility where you want to put your energies. So getting into our trainers, these are going to be mainly our ways of searching energy, but we have Capacious Bucket, definitely one of the best ways to get water energies. Pairs very nicely with Frostmoth. Of course, we can search those 2 water energies out of deck and immediately slap them down with our Frostmoth. Energy Retrieval. So we just got this back in the format recently. Get some energies out of discard pile back into our hand, especially for things like Baby Lucephalon. Now that we are losing cards like Fiery Flint, they might have to be looking at more copies of cards like Energy Retrieval. Who knows? But Energy Retrieval, it's a card that has historically seen play, whenever it gets printed. So definitely, I think will be a decent card going forward. Energy Spinner is still lurking around. It is, an objectively better version of Energy Search, which we also do have that I have omitted from this video. But you search your deck for a basic energy, but if it's your first turn going second, you get 3 basic energies instead. So it's a card that has actually seen a decent amount of play and probably will continue to see play in the decks that want trainer-based form of energy acceleration. So we have Energy Switch up next. This is another card that has historically seen decent play. Move a basic energy from one of your Pokemon to another one. Straightforward. We've seen this over the years. Most recently, we've seen Energy Switch in heavy counts and Pikarom list to, be able to more efficiently choose what attackers we want to use. So we could continue to see decks like that sort of make use of a card like this. We have Fire Crystal. So even though we are losing Fiery Flint, we do have Fire Crystal still hanging around. Put 3 fire energies from discard into your hand. So very, very good because we can get this back, go Welder 2, then attach one for turn, and we have a fully powered up attacker in a lot of cases. So we have Metal Saucer up next. Definitely one of the best energy accelerators that we have on this list here. We attach a metal energy from discard to one of our benched metal Pokemon. All of the patch style trainers over the years have been great. Most notably Dark Patch, that's the big one, but even Aqua Patch was also a solid card as well, and Metal Saucer is another one to add to that list and has been a great card up until this point. Next up we have Tag Switch. So even though we are losing, I think, some of the cards that really enable some of our tag teams currently to be very effective, Tag Switch is a card that is hanging around that does give them a boost. So we've seen this a lot in Pikarom lists to be able to, again, just move our energies around between our tag teams, give ourselves some flexibility in terms of what attackers we want to use. So again, with Pikarom sort of, I think, getting hurt a bit by the rotation, I'm not sure what deck's Tag Switch is immediately going to be in, but it is still a nice option to have in the format. So next we have Giant Hearth, definitely one of the best energy searching effects right now for fire Pokemon. Just in general, fire Pokemon on this list, I think, or fire type in general, has been one of the best types for energy acceleration on this list. No shortage of ways to get fire energies. So of course we discard a card from our hand, get 2 fire energies from deck. Training Court, this is a card I'm not quite as enthusiastic about. I think definitely one of the weaker ones on here, but it's kind of like a weaker version of Energy Retrieval, but just in the form of a stadium card. So once during each player's turn, that player may put a basic energy card from their discard into their hand. Viridian Force. Actually, even though this looks very similar to Training Court, Viridian has seen much more play and probably is generally, I think, a little bit better. But once during each player's turn, that player may discard a card from their hand. If they do, search their deck for a basic energy card and put it into their hand. So Viridian's definitely proven itself to be pretty good, especially since a lot of decks do want energy in the discard pile as well. So sometimes the discarding is actually something that helps you as well. So next up we have Bead. This is a card that really hasn't taken off too much, but I do think Bead is one of those cards to always sort of keep in the back of your mind. You attach a basic energy card from hand to one of your bench Pokemon. It's cool because it provides energy acceleration for any type, especially decks going forward that they might not really need to dedicate like an entire stage 2 line or a stage 1 line in their deck, and like they might only need like a little bit of acceleration, like maybe a 2 energy attacking deck, because if you lose your only powered up attacker, it's going to take 2 turns to get powered up. And do you really want to play like Colossal just to accelerate 1 extra like energy per turn, just as an example? Maybe not. So something like Bead I think is good for those styles of decks. I think we have seen some Obstagoon lists run low counts of beads here and there, but that's kind of been the extent of this card's play, if my memory is serving me correct. But I think beat is an okay option that people should at least keep in mind when deck building. So we have Brock's Training. This is a card, again, you might have to actually read for the first time. You attach energy from hand to one of your Geodude, Graveler, Golem, Onyx GX, Cubone, Rhyhorn, Rhydon, or Sudowoodo. So unfortunately, Brock's Training hasn't been that great up until this point. I think this energy acceleration is just a little too weak. Maybe if it was like attached to, there'd be more of a consideration. And also your options are like super limited here, so probably not one of the better options on our list. Guzman Hala, definitely been a fantastic card up until this point. I mean, it's kind of more than just an energy search, because we can also get tool cards and stadiums as well. But of course, you can, if you discard 2 cards from hand, you can get special energy, tool, and stadium. Really good combo. You know, up until now, we've seen a lot of decks really like this. Think of something like Pikarom, where you can get speed, lightning energy, your stadium, and like a big charm or something like that as well. So Guzmahala, definitely a cool card. So you have Misty and Lorelei. This could be good potentially for your Frostmoth decks out there, or maybe even your Blastoise Piplup decks if that's ever a thing. But you search your deck for up to 3 water energy cards, reveal them, put them into your hand. Does have kind of a cool secondary effect, but of course the first part is really the reason we're looking at this. So, I mean, Frostmoth hasn't really taken off up until this point. I think a lot of times just playing supporters are going to be a little bit better. We've had things in the past like Silent that have seemed like very fringe play, but have never really been like in big, like tier 1 archetypes most of the time. So Misty and Lorelei, probably not going to be one of the best options, but it's really not a bad one either though. It's just kind of in that middle ground. So Misty's Water Command, kind of like with Brock's, probably not going to see much play, but unlike Accelerating Energy, this time we get to move water energy from all of these different water Pokemon, but again, probably not one of the better options, especially since we do have Frostmoth and some of the other water options we've already sort of laid out. So next up we have one of the memeier options on this list. That's going to be Morgan. This is a card that like I've really been begging to actually see play. Been really excited to see this effect actually get pulled off consistently, but it's just too hard, I think. But if you can pull it off, it is pretty crazy. Look at the top 12 cards of your deck and attach a number of energy cards you find there to your Pokemon any way that you like. But you can only play this if you discard Dana, Evelyn, and Nita from your hand as well. So very, very awkward combo to pull off, but if you do, it is a pretty wild effect. So yeah, I'm still not too confident this is going to be a very successful card, but it is something to point out. Next up, we do have End's Resolve. This is going to be a card that does gradually get worse over time, since Dragon Pokemon are sort of MIA right now in the TCG. It's kind of weird. We got the official announcement saying that Fairy Pokemon were going to be discontinued. We've had no word on Dragon Pokemon, but we haven't seen them up until this point. So effectively, they've been discontinued for the moment, as far as we know. But End's Resolve is still interesting. You discard the top 6 cards of your deck. If any of those are basic energy cards, attach them to one of your benched Dragon Pokemon. So End's Resolve has seen some degree of play. This was a card that was in a lot of early ADP lists. Has since sort of died off, especially after we got Zacian. So probably not going to see too much play there. If people still try to experiment with the Reshiram Zekrom GX tag team, End's Resolve could be good for that. But beyond that, I don't think there's too many really great partners for this card. So next we have Red and Blue. This is another card that unfortunately is going to continually get worse because we are going to only keep losing Pokemon GX. But this one, you can search your deck for a evolution or a Pokemon GX evolution and evolve one of your Pokemon. But if you discard 2 cards from hand, you can search your deck for up to 2 basic energy cards and attach them to the Pokemon you evolved in this way. So there's still some cards this is good with. So think of something like Weavile GX. That's a very nice combo. Silvally GX. I'm sure there's some other stage 1s that are decent out there. But yeah, it's going to be limited to just those sorts of decks. So next up we have Sonia. It's been months, I still don't know how to pronounce this character's name, but I'm just gonna go with Sonia for now. but you search your deck for up to 2 basic Pokemon or up to 2 basic energy cards, reveal them, put them into your hand. I don't think this is a very, very good card overall. I really wish this card had let you combine the Pokemon energy. I would have been a little bit more excited about it. But nevertheless, guys, I mean, there might be a deck at some point that does want to run this, and in the mid game, searching your deck for basic energies could be good. You know, after the early game where you've already used this for your basics, your extra copies of Sonya can still have utility maybe in the mid to late game, but definitely not one of my favorite cards in terms of energy, like consistency boosting. Unlike Sonya, Wittler is a substantially better card. I don't really need to talk too much about this. Just obviously the best form of fire energy acceleration we have right now. Attach up to 2 fire energies from hand, draw 3 cards. Insane card. Wittler is still hanging around. Definitely going to be one of the best energy accelerators we have in the format. It's not going to change at all. We have Karate Belt from there, and I think this is actually the last card we have on our list. But if you have more prize cards remaining, then your opponent, the attacks of the Pokemon this card is attached to cost 1 fighting energy less. So this is nice because fighting Pokemon are historically kind of awkward and clunky to get powered up. So anything that we can get to help them is definitely going to be more than appreciated. I think this is one of the better ways to help our fighting Pokemon too. But with that being said, guys, that is going to be the list. We have a ton of energy consistency boosting cards. I did not expect to have a list this long. So just looking through here, I think some of the ones I think are going to be good still. Pretty much most of the fire stuff like Volcanion, Victini, and Welder are going to be some of the big ones. Weavile could become good again once the Eternatus deck sort of comes onto the scene. I think that's an option. Obviously, ADP is still going to be a great card. Colossal is a card I think is okay. See, obviously the lightning stuff, Bolton, Tapu Koko specifically are going to be great for the type. Now, I think Psychic's one of the things that's still kind of up in the air at this point. In terms of the ones we have included, I think actually the Rotom and the Starmie are some of the better ones. For water, of course, Frostmoth is definitely going to be the best. Metal Saucer, also going to be one of the best cards on this list as well. So overall, guys, a lot of good things still remaining in the format, even though, of course, we are losing some energy accelerators. There's plenty to go around. I think most types are going to do just fine after rotation. So yeah, guys, that is going to wrap up part 5 of our post-rotation guide. Like I said at the beginning of this video, guys, if you have missed the other parts or you want to see the future ones that get uploaded, I will have a link down below in the description to the entire playlist. That way you guys can view all of the different parts in this guide. But if you guys did enjoy this content, of course, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. And also, if you can, consider supporting this channel by becoming a patron over at patreon.com/rarecandytcg or by picking up some merch from our online store, rarecandytcg.com. It would mean a lot. But as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.